Right now, they just started an internal gang unit, which is outstanding. The information sharing between the two units are phenomenal. Their fugitive unit is the best in the area. I mean, if a person has a warrant, 9 out of 10 times, the sheriff's office is taken from. I mean, it's almost like a competition between us and them trying to catch the person. You can't get that from incorporation. It's just not possible. And even when they try to annex or take in some of the revenue-generating businesses, that doesn't mean that you're going to come with your own fusion unit, your own intel, and your own special operations. Just to put the helicopter in the air, which we do 24/7, 365. We have our own internal training program, which is one of the few agencies in the country that have that. Officers can literally start out being a patrol officer and end up flying a helicopter with a full pilot certification. We have our own bomb technicians. That training alone is a few years pipeline. Other agencies can't come close to it. Our SWAT teams are rated one of the best in the country. Yes, ma'am.
You just said something earlier about, you can't give out, sometimes don't give out information on the things that you're working on.
Right.
And if a person calls in, say for instance, and reports criminal activity in the neighborhood,
Right.
and they don't get a call back, how do you know, how would you know in the community that that call's being addressed, or maybe it's being investigated? Will there be any indication, will people be taking down your information, your name and phone number and all that, and get back with you, or do you just not do it?
It depends on your request. More often than not, you can look at it in different ways, and I give you a couple different scenarios. Most people do not want the officers responding to their locations when they call in a complaint in reference that's not associated with the neighborhood. Say, for example, if you believe there's narcotic-related activity or prostitution that you see, more often than not, they want to keep themselves anonymous. And the communications try to respect it, but if you tell that call taker, that dispatchers, I want the officer to meet with me, officers have no problem with it. Matter of fact, we prefer it because it helps us to be able to further the investigation. A lot of times, and this doesn't happen a lot, and I know people think that it does. If you tell me something, then I tell it to her, and she tells it to him, she tells it to Tom, it's changed how many times? That doesn't happen with us. Computer technology changes that. But more often than not, the officer really wants to hear directly from you what your complaint is, to be able to explain to you what the matter is so he can try to see what you saw or see what you are looking at. But more often than not, unfortunately, complainants don't want to meet with the officer. So you have to indicate it when you talk to the communications. Say, I want the officer to come to my house. That's one of the questions they will ask you. For those of you that's probably called 911 and want to report incident in the past, they will ask you, do you want the officer to meet with you? And a lot of times they want your phone number, they'll call you back repeatedly, several times, because the officer may be in the area trying to find what it is that you called about, and he or she may not be able to locate it. So they're trying to determine what you see. So if you say, I want the officer to meet with you, believe me, your house is going to be the first stop that they come to, unless they come, obviously, across a situation that you would call them about. So that's one of the biggest things. Any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
We get the crime report for our neighborhood once a day or every other day or whatever. There's a term that I've seen on there, and I cannot find anybody that knows what it means. It's free text.
Oh, okay. All right. Free text. She was asking, there's a term that's on the crime report that's sent out via email. I think Ms. Hightower may send it to you. And it's called free text. FBI, I'm not going to pick on them because they didn't mean any harm with this. There's different categories of crime, several categories of crime. Burglary. You can have burglary, residential, burglary, commercial, burglary, free text. That means it falls between residential and commercial. It's kind of like they don't know what it is, but we're going to call it burglary. So free text is a catch-all box for us. We know we're going to write a report, but we don't really know what category to put in because the FBI said that we have to for uniform reporting responsibilities. They need to know how many calls we handle, how many burglaries that we have, 2013, etc. So if it doesn't quite qualify as a residence and it doesn't quite qualify as a business, then we go back to free text.
I have one other thing.
Yes, ma'am.
There's assume it's still there. A phone number is in the telephone book for non-emergency police. And I called them one night because the people across the street had come home. We weren't there. Parked their car at an angle into their yard. The door was car door was open, the lights were on, and the music was playing. Well, I was afraid that the fella had come home and had a stroke or a heart attack. And so I had written down that non-emergency police number, and I called, and they responded within 5 minutes.
Well, I'll let you in a little secret, just a little secret. You gotta keep it amongst us. The non-emergency number and the emergency number goes to the same group of people. Once upon a time, we tried to stand up, we tried to get off the ground of 311, which would have been grateful. There was a point in time where our older system, before we moved, if you guys remember when we was on Memorial Drive, we moved to La Vista Road, they updated our system. We're going through another update next month, as a matter of fact, where the 911 system was getting overloaded. And it was trying to find ways to cut out the non-emergency or the non-life-threatening calls by 311. Didn't quite work out the way everybody anticipated. 311 is still in play, but I think it's turned more into a county information line versus where you can call to report a non-emergency complaint. So the way the system works now, there is a non-emergency number, and it's 678-406 something. I can email it and send it back to you via email so you can disseminate it. But more often than not, in the situation you just described, I'm thinking emergency, because it has the potential to be life-threatening.
I can't remember her name, but I think she answered with the Carrollton police.
Oh, they always do.
And so it wasn't like a 911 emergency answer, that I expected.
The operators,
Wonderful.
and there's another thing that you guys really should take a look at. I mean, you paid for it. Our communication center is state of the art. And the training that the operators go through, and the multitasking capability, I would rather be a cop on the street than be an operator, to be honest with you. Their ability to discern between a non-emergency and to categorize the level of the call is just amazing. I mean, that's what they do. So you don't have to worry about if this is not really a life-threatening or what I would consider to be an emergency situation. If I call 911, then I may prevent someone else. You don't have to worry about that anymore. We solved that problem when we upgraded our system. So I'm not saying just call 911. Yes, ma'am.